Okay, what do I like magically about projection screens? Well, one, cinema's got to be have a dark screen, otherwise light reflects on the screen and washes out the image. Whereas, a direct view is different because it's not projected. The thing I find appealing with transparent acoustical screens is the sound in the auditorium years ago when thinking really not much about it. Just looking at the styling of the images of um, set designs, visual effects, locations, how I suppose a scene was framed and such with performers or such landscapes and projected large than a typical TV at home that was smaller than that size during the um, early, 1950s, I guess, were very small size, boxy CRTs, and then they gradually got a little bit larger. They go from black and white to colour. Improvements in electronics, the improving in the getting the image to it, and so many engineer minds and such working, collaborating to make it. Well, TV at the end of the day is one big manipulating lie. But then I suppose cinema could be, because it's to create illusion. The first things that audiences would have seen with a train coming into a train station, and then the story goes, some of them kind of jumped or ran out of the auditorium thinking a train's going to coming at them because they haven't seen that point of view before, because usually they stand on a platform and not had a camera position where it's coming, and like your reaction would be to um, so TVs have gradually gotten bigger. Flat screen rear projection ones during, I'm not sure which decade, probably the 1970s, with CRT, red, green, blue, and then projected onto a screen that's slightly curved but 4 by 3, but more or less, for argument's sake, about the size of a 65 inch there, They were just a CRT projector projecting on. You could adjust it and then project it on a larger screen image then. And I saw one of those back in the 1980s. Actually seen one. I think it was a National Panasonic or maybe a Mitsubishi. Um, saw one of those at someone's home. Looked kind of impressive to see, actually. But then still the cinema was still something that was magically better than, but could only show film or show advertisements, trailers, short films, feature films. That's its limitation. Um, Today, it's all media. You could just show about anything on it as long as there is a video projector there. It can receive just about any video signal that you give it, whether it be 480 or lower, or their inputs, and you can give it a signal and then you can project it. So is cinema or magical anymore? I don't think so, because it's all media. It's like the same that you get in the home. Whereas once it was just limited to cinema. Whereas video projectors have gradually come into the home consumer market, whereas they have been used before for, if you look at some of those big screens at NASA's Mission Control, that's all front projection, with projectors placed in the corners of the Mission Control with its own little Mission Video Control Center that does all the video feeding and such for those monitors that are up on or projection up on the screens, so that they could see their consoles as well as seeing, information up there on the screen also. And yeah, so video projectors have been around for quite a while. I'm not sure what their price was when they were when they were used for mission control. They must have been must have cost a bit, and no more different than the sizes to what they are today. I think they were a bit smaller, and they were ceiling mounted, fixed. So they, because I always thought, wow, that's a very large TV screen they got up on the, how'd they do that? And then you see archival pictures or video, and then you notice, oh, right, I see one there, I see one, oh, right, video projectors. Right, so gradually, you see a movie at the cinema during, say, typically the 1890s, and then you get it on a Sony, a Panasonic, a JVC video projector, and then you see it around someone's home, and it's like, oh, wow, I just saw this movie a couple of months ago, or last week, or it's still showing because you got it on Laserdisc, and you got it up on and it's like in a small room, and it's like, wow. And yeah, the sound behind it is makes it all like more believable, rather than just seeing typically some home cinemas just do it completely wrong. And look, you see the colour bars there because the video camera can pick up the colour bars on the projector where it doesn't notice it on the. I think it could be something that could be improved. Most typicals home cinemas, you see speakers in front of a projection screen, and of course if you're got something in front of a projection screen, just like I've got the mic booms here, even something on the side slightly, it's going to cast a shadow or something or other. I mean, it's not perfect, I get a bit of a shadow with the overheads up there, but all I have to do is put some fabric up there, get some very lightweight material to make a frame, and then maybe use maybe some heavy duty Velcro, and just stick it on, and all I have to do is just attach. That's very nice, so it's nice and even going right across the frame there, and then coming down a bit, and then just frame it, and then do the one down for the bottom as well. But a scope movie just manages, and if I show a widescreen movie, I will just adjust the throw on the zoom on the projector, so the image will be a little bit more in the middle, so it kind of will still have the same black bars, sort of equal top and bottom. But seeing speakers in front, sometimes someone puts a speaker behind the screen, and then they got speakers that are fitted in a false wall that's outside the screen area, and that doesn't make sense because the sound the speakers have got to be behind the screen. Say when Indiana Jones enters the cave in Raiders, in his footsteps, and it's got to make sense. If the footsteps are outside, it doesn't make sense. So you've got to have it, behind the screen. And here there's just barely it illuminates with the lighting I've got behind the screen, because it's a very low level LED lighting. It's not very high powered LED lighting, so it doesn't illuminate the speakers, but just enough where I can just barely just position the microphones when calibrating. I'm only using the 3 at the moment. I usually have a typical 5 microphones for the left, center, right. So I use a 5 screen spread, so it gives more sound clarity, better panning sound, which is consistently smooth, and a little bit more bass power. Oh yeah, we like bass. So I can configure it whether I want to play 3 screen or 5 screen, or I can configure if it's a widescreen movie on there and I'm projecting it at the same aspect ratio, so size to what it would be at a cinema as an ex-projectionist. That was so easy to do. Lens change, aspect ratio, masking change, format, sound change, all that. And dowser, closing the light on and off. It was so easy just to do that in just less than 10 seconds at the best. Whereas it takes an AVR today, flipping heck. It's like watching paint drying when changing video mode. Oh dear, I could do all that so quick. And changing a lens adjustment on the video projector, it's tricky. Takes a few seconds, takes many seconds to get it right, because I haven't got myself an extra port window back behind the but I was thinking I could get around that if I were to fit a little video camera in the room, so it's looking at the projection screen, so that I can see in the say the kitchen, and then I can see, and then I can make the necessary adjustment as well as focusing, etc., without having to keep coming in and out all the time just to check. I don't mind the 4K laser projector. It starts up quick, and it shuts off very fast when turning off. It shuts off very fast, whereas other ones, you have to give them some time because of the type of lamp and that and the cooling. But the projector's got nice ventilating cooling. Yeah, magic wants feeding. So the projector sat on the fridge. Not the ideal place. Not what I would have done. But since my new fridge was just a fraction, a little bit, few more millimeters higher than what I wanted, I had to make some alteration, and as long as it's up there, I could have mounted it with if I know where the joystick is located in the ceiling, and then fit a bracket up there, and then the projector could then be, floating more or less. So it's just finding where a joist is up here, and fitting a joist, and then fitting some wooding up there, and a bracket. Not a big deal, simple. There's plenty of ventilation around the projector, so I won't need things like typically on cinema projectors, an extractor fan. So there's plenty of ventilation around it, and it runs quiet or silent almost. I was still thinking of putting it on the bench and checking out checking out the what's inside and such. What makes a certain specific noise on the inside, because there's very few moving parts, and only it's like typical fans on a rack. Make a bit of this top amplifier. Yeah, it's on the stairs. It's starting to get a bit dusty there now. It's only been in a few weeks. I've got to change the fan on that, whereas all the others have had the fans changed, as well as all the others, and the crowns. Their fans are relatively quiet, but the projector is behind, so it mimics like a cinema. Except I need a second port window, which would probably be about there. I was going to do the port windows where that is drawn up there. I was originally going to put it up at that height, but I changed my mind. It took a couple of days to do that port wall hole by drilling. Masonry drill going in horizontally, and then once I've done all the holes, and then going diagonally, and then it loosened up, and then I went in, chiseled it out, and then put some a lot of liquid nails in there, and then put some cut MDF, put it all in, and it's all stuck and it's all firm. Yeah, got myself a little port window. But I would have preferred it a little bit higher up, just a little bit, and then maybe a little bit wider. But it works. Not many home cinemas have got a THX in their home, or running, or got THX sound system. I can't think of a single home cinema in the UK that's got one. So gives an idea of the, a tiny little OLED, and you think people want big TVs. I don't understand why they want big ass TVs when, especially OLEDs. Oh my goodness, the pros and cons that come with it is like, I've seen two people struggling with I don't know what it is. It's probably a few inches shy of 100 inches, and they're just struggling to put it up on a wall. I don't understand why. I really don't understand why. It's a lot easier to get a video projector, have it back so far in the room, and then project an image. Damn, that's going to go wall to wall, almost to the floor and ceiling, and then you ain't going to bother with a bloody OLED. Otherwise, the room is really as wide as this. It's about 18 inches wider, so it's only 9 feet 2 inches going across that way, so it's pretty narrow. Yeah. Scale of that image just makes that OLED look tiny. Oh, your screen's too small. You need a bigger screen. Yeah, even some video projectors. I've seen them set up in rooms, and then it looks too small on the wall because they haven't thought it out very carefully. Typically this room in design, in principle, is no more different than an average multiplex, whereas the rooms are just pretty straight walls, ceiling. The only difference there is there's no sloping floor, but it depends, because they all come in different types today. They just basically flat floors, and all they do is put a raised flooring in to put the seating in, and it's just a typical room that used to be a storeroom, and they are called boothless auditoriums, and they typically have the projector in the auditorium fitted, as everyone has seen, in a box that's typically mounted to the back, and it's pretty large. It's got probably a neck or something, or a barcode projector with an extraction fan out there. And I've never been in one single one of those auditoriums, not one. If I did, I would be listening out for the projector, whether I could hear a peep out of it. And if I thought I could hear a peep, then I think that doesn't come within the standards, blah blah. I would just be very picky and be a bit snotty about it, sort of thing, because thinking, this isn't cinema, this is home cinema. And it is effectively home cinema. Cinema is no longer cinema, it's home cinema now. I could put any movie on I want, and it's all mostly physical media. I don't hardly buy downloaded movies. I've got a few, and it is like a tiny few. Do I watch them much? Not much recently. I just like to do the tilt on that bloody projector, because if you tilt a projector, and just like having an ordinary torch, and you angle it, you change the beam. It changes shape. So you see cinemas that are very awkward placed where the projector room is, and then how the light's getting down there to the screen, where it's clearing all the audience seating. But you only have to stand so close to a projector screen, and then put your hand up high, and then you would cast the shadow on the screen, and then you could roughly calculate the elevation angle, the degree angle. You could roughly calculate, But if you stand up really close to it, of course, you put a shadow on the screen. Or if you stand really close near to the back of the auditorium, and depending on where the port window is, and put your hand up, then you could probably do, I don't know, a bunny rabbit. Usually, cinema speakers have to be within about a 1-inch distance away from the screen. That's usually standard. That's where mine are. So typically the HF horns, because of the type with the fabric, and it's like if you were to put a fabric in front of put it on a bench, so to speak, and get a piece of any type of fabrics you can make up on, say, a piece of wood, board, a frame. You could use actual normal perforated screen material, which is usually perforations are a little bit wide. I got some of that sample screen, and you got super micro perforated screen, and then you got typical things like bed sheets, which is the original. That is the original projection screen, as what they used back in the days of the talkies or movies. They used bed sheets, and often they would get sent to cleaners to get cleaned, because they cigarettes tartar gets up on the screen changes colour, yellowy, yuck, and so they get cleaned. But they're only good for so many washing, because then they shrink and then they start ripping, and so they got to buy a new bed sheet, big large bed sheets. And that was typically what was used until the 1950s came. That's when plastic perforated screen material started coming into place. I think it was developed here in the United Kingdom, in Scotland. I forgot the name of the screen company. I was going to buy one of their screens, but they didn't seem to get back to me, so they obviously didn't taking my home cinema serious, and I wanted to get a projection screen up, because I was using a bed sheet to project on. And yes, you get sound passing through it. It's very easy. If you can just get a screen material and hold it up to light, if you can see light, then sound's going to get through it to do some degree, and you measure that and then see what it comes out at. And if I can hear high frequencies, then I can hear high frequencies still. They need a bit of an elevation boost. Of course they need boost, even if there is no projection screen. High frequencies still need an elevation boost, because otherwise you ain't going to hear that sci-fi sound, whatever, or Jean-Michel Jarre, very top-end musical fundamental notes playing, going up near to 20 fat. You wouldn't hear them. The wavelength is tiny, and he's amplifying, and a screen will just kind of minimize it a little bit, but you can compensate as long as the electronics of the amplifier can handle it. Yeah, power handling, as long as the HF compression drivers can handle that SPL dynamic range level, it's fine. No problem. Some people make a big bloody deal out of it, like, oh, I'm going to get high frequency, oh, I've got to change this bloody spud. The screen I got, eventually, I think that cost about, for that size, I think it was 160 pound, and that was a good buy, because all the other ones that I was looking at, overrated Stuart screen and so many overrated screens I was looking at, and they were like, for that size, typical 120 inch, you know what prices they were? They were almost £1,000. Overrated, overhyped, and sheer daylight robbery. Other DIY ways is using spandex material, but the material's you got to have it stretched perfectly so you don't get creases in it, and it's very awkward to set up. But you can get good results. Of course, there's the thing like screen gain, you know, how much light level you get on it, and how much less light level you want. How this appears, you know, never mind the roll bars. How it appears looks okay, but it's not like, you know, I've got to turn the light off if I want to see outer space, even though it's not real, it's CGI or post photo chemical effects. Outer space, you know, like you know, and it's film to video, so if it was film, then it's going to have a different totally texture. It is the real thing. It will probably be framed the same way, you never know. The color texture tone is going to be slightly different. Video has a certain high contrast ratio to compare to with film, but as it looks, not bad. It's not real life. It's only a, you know, it's only a photo play up on the screen, and that is it. And it looks okay. It looks okay there. Nebulae looks better there on a fixed screen. Obviously, I've got to turn the you know, projector, the lighting off. But other than that, not a problem with sound. Not a problem. And it's always best to make sure you got matched speakers behind the screen. You don't mix and match the speakers, otherwise the tonality is going to change. You'd be surprised how much bass energy sometimes in the center channel. Most people think it's often in the left and right, but I guess most haven't been to a cinema or can remember how that film that they've seen, how many times? Maybe 4 times, and they can't remember how it sounded. They just, you know, went there for other reasons. And then today they think they want a home cinema. They don't know why they want a home cinema. They just want one. But, you know, you'd be surprised how much bass there might be in Star Trek 2, particularly on the opening credits right at the beginning. There's quite a bit of bass energy, strong bass energy in the center channel. Of course, the more bass bins you got the more energy you get. I've only got single 15s, and sometimes it could be a bit overpowering for the room, so I've got to condense it to fit the size of the room. It's the same with any cinema. If you overpowered it too much, and then everyone's going to say, seems a little bit overpowered, it doesn't seem to fit. You know, you've got to make several things. You've got to make the sound of the characters fit the size of the screen. It's very tricky. There's a lot more to it than you think. I like that blacks there. Yeah. Beaming effect, and that beaming effect's got some high frequency that goes up to almost near to about 18,000 kilohertz. Now then. Yeah, so that's projection screen, and why I like it. I don't often turn it on for myself. I just run the direct view for friends around. I'll probably put it on the projector. The only thing is the lights. You know, it's very, very awkward. I haven't got Tiffany lights going around I wouldn't mind Tiffany lights, just like it was at Tower Park UCI years ago. Whereas here down, you know, you have some sort of very low leveled powered LED lighting, or they would have been different type of lighting, I think, years ago. But today, you know, use an LED, but run it very, very, very low level, just so you can illuminate the sea. But you know, but this narrow way walking past the rack is, yeah. I have thought of changing my seating. 6 seats. And I thought about, why not put 2 seats forward, 2 in the middle, and two at the back. That means I've got to take this out. I've got to take it all out, redo it, start again. And so that means the front row will be mounted on something similar. Probably a little bit shallow in height, a little bit forward, and then so it'd be like 2 seats around here. So they're equally going to get good sound, and then next 2, and then the next 2, and making sure that it's not too high. You know, it's just calculating the height. I've seen some home theatre where he's got his seating platform for the rear back row way too high. I mean, that's way too high. And when almost standing up on the back, there's this guy and he has to crouch his head down. I can touch the ceiling there, bam. So it's calculating, yeah, the height average, you know. But then, you know, if I happen to get someone that's very tall in here, they're going to be crouching. I did have one guy in this room one time. He was going to do me some woodwork, framing and such, and he said he was very tall. He wasn't kidding. He was over 7 feet high. And this ceiling height is about 7 feet 8 inches. Couldn't believe it. Oh, so yeah, making sure it's, you know, and you just look at typical multiplexes or boothless auditoriums today, and you know, you can get inspiration from that sort of thing. But does that cinema really inspire what you're building? I know mine isn't. I know what I want to do, but it's not easy in a small room. It's very awkward to do these. It's very awkward, but I like it. I don't really like the acoustical foam. I just glued it to the walls. I didn't want an echo in this room, period. Ceiling as well, bit of carpet on the floor, bit of missing carpet there. Actually, I've got the carpet for that. I just haven't been bothered to fit that carpet in position. My sooty used to sit there occasionally, so I kind of keep it there as a momentum. The unfinished carpet. It's only carpet tiles. You only cut its size and then slot it in position. It's not a big deal. But there's no echo in this room. The only thing it's going to echo or reflect is things like, because they're typically reflectivity, including a projection screen. So you've got to know how to listen to it. And whereas Tom Holman discovered, putting all this together back in the, you know, for the THX sound system program, as the story goes, he stood behind the screen and thinking, what's going on? This sound it seems to be like reflecting from the horn, the HF horns, to the screen material and then back. It seems a bit more dB louder sort of thing, and what's going on? Whereas you want that energy just to come out from the HF horn, through the screen into the auditorium. And so he just covered the baffle wall with absorbent material. And of course, with the baffle wall, it reinforces the bass, puts the bass energy more out into the auditorium, and gives a better consistent smoothness because there's no voids. Whereas typical auditoriums, you look at typical Limax cinemas and their speakers, are just down hanging behind the bloody screen, and so they're going to have bad sound, where it's just going to come out and then go back at the wall, even though the wall's absorbed on the back, but it hasn't got a baffle. I suppose the reason that they haven't got a baffle is probably maybe they'll have problems with THX, but they got baffle wings on their speakers. But then that's an old technique that many Altec speakers used decades ago, and put wings on the side. Even THX did a kind of bafflette sort of thing, so it did have gaps between the speakers, but they were large wings, just MDF or wood just bolted on the speaker, nothing big deal. But it's better, but then it's not a proper baffle wall behind the screen. It's just because there were so many JBLs there, and I calculated, and it's like, bloody hell, it's almost like one consistent bloody baffle wall. Partly, all I need to do is just put little bits of wood in between, particularly for my cat Bear, because he likes to find a way in up behind that screen and crawl around. So all it means is just putting in a bit of extra material, because I know full well sound is coming down out and then still passing in between gaps. But as round between where the speakers are, it's like, well, a speaker's a baffle, isn't it? Because yeah, it's a baffle. They come in different sizes depending on some speakers. They have all these tower speakers, and you look at the baffle. Oh, it's so narrow round the side. Oh dear, you need to put that speaker in a baffle wall to improve its sound, because it does improve. Just simply improves. And so you get a bit more bass, you get a bit more smoothness. You do your frequency sweeps, and it's like, wow, I'll keep that. I like that. And that was cheap. And yet you spent maybe 10,000 on a pair of speakers, and they just got lousy baffling on this. It's just, you could have got PA speakers a lot cheaper, do far bigger sound, and yeah. Oh yeah, I just like things like that. I could still see behind the projection screen because of the lighting that's turned on. Yeah, I can fix that soon. I can fix that, but I've got to make it so everything's manageable, that I can move the subs out of position if I need to, but they'll be just in a fixed position. And then it's amazing sometimes what a bit of stud work and a bit of a nice clean MDF. I don't particularly like plasterboard. It's messy. You got to set it up right. If you want to take it down, you got to take it down. It's got to be screwed on. You can't nail it. You got to screw it so you can unscrew it, and so minimise the mess. But it still makes powdery mess, and I don't like plasterboard. I like nice clean panels because it is clean, and all I need to do is just unscrew them and remove them, and that's it. Not a big deal. Not really fond of having the OLED there. Not really fond of it. I did have another screen that was in front of the, and that was in my bedroom now. That's mounted on the wall, but that was a little bit higher up. And every time I had to run the projector, I had to lift it off the mounting platform thing it was on, the mounting bracket things that was portable, that I can move around in the room, and then put the TV over one side, and then lay the bracket thing down on the floor. And that was easy because there was hardly much weight in that. And it's only about 1 foot shorter than this OLED. And yet OLEDs weigh extremely heavy. They are not easy to move around. Not easy. It's a lot easier to move a video projector around and get a bigger image. I mean, that image there is like, I don't know, probably somewhere the equivalent of maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times larger than the OLED. Wouldn't mind a remote switch here so I can just turn the light on and off. Maybe get a water pistol thing, as a friend suggested. So every time my cat Bear tries to go behind that, I'll squirt him with some water, and then he'll know not to do that. Cats, they just like to find voids, but I don't know why he likes the voids behind there. It may look very stylistic, or I don't know. There's a good void behind there to go up behind. If I was a cat, I'll go behind there. It's nice, cozy, especially during the summertime. Got vintage JBLs down here. You know what? I've only tested them on day one when the owner brought them over or such, or someone had acquired them and then wanted to sell. I got them pretty cheap, even though they were still hundreds something. But others that I've seen about like $2,000, $3,000. I'm thinking, what? I got these a lot cheaper. But never really, never really used them that much. I don't understand. I just think, am I going to use them? Am I going to position them, tow them around a bit, so because they're firing in that way, only just because I've got the projection screen just literally sat on some VHS tapes. So it's pushing the screen up as high as it'll go, and that screen is only balanced by a piece of cardboard and some acoustical tiling up there, and that screen is literally just floating more or less. Yeah, and that screen weighs a lot lighter than that OLED. It's a lot easier to move that screen around if the room was a bit wider, but because it's a bit narrower, it is a little bit awkward to get the screen out position and then park it down the side here, so then I can do any maintenance or whatever, alteration, whatever, on the screen speakers. But it's a lot easier to move that projection screen than that OLED.